Hi, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing in the ridiculously cold. I'm gonna blacksmith for as long as I can manage it, but it's stupid cold, and so this might be a really short stream. First things first, I'm gonna start up the forge so that I can warm it up just a little bit. Hopefully it'll start warming up really quickly. But nothing wants to heat, so. Oh God, fingers are cold. There we go. Let's see if we can't get this wet. starting a taper is always, or it's one of the most basic functions of blacksmithing. We do this by tilting or angling the piece of material off of the anvil at a relatively shallow angle, and we hammer using an angled string right off of the edge of the anvil. So, like this. This kind of crushes the material into a triangular point as we go, and we use all four corners, or we hammer on all four corners for a taper. So cool. warm up a little bit with the forge. But yeah, I can't really control the weather. I do know that the forecast is going to be in the 50s, the mid-50s all week next week, so we will definitely be able to finish up our silverware project and have a good old time next week streaming. So yeah, I'm a little bit on the butter knife. As the stream title suggests, we are not doing a steak knife, not a sharp knife, not a Bowie knife, like, not like a hunting knife or anything like that. We're doing a butter knife. It's not for stabbing, not for slicing, it's for spreading. I wanted to make sure that I was very clear that we're not making a sharp knife, because I feel like a lot of people, when they see knife in the title, they'll think that I am a knife maker, and that we would be making a sharp knife, and we're not doing that today, unfortunately. Welcome in, Jack Frost. Is ice effective for a quench bucket? Only for like the tip of stuff, it's definitely going to quench out the steel very quickly, but it will also, depending on how far or how hot the piece is when I try to quench it, as to how far it will dig itself into the ice, and there's always a chance that it could definitely get stuck. I've had that happen a couple times where pieces of steel I've been trying to quench into a block of ice comes out and they actually get a little bit stuck in there. But yeah, welcome, Jack Frost. Welcome in. This may be an excessively short stream. It is ridiculously cold today. It's only a couple degrees warmer than it was on Monday. I was able to get my equipment running except for the light overhead. I'm not sure if that is because it needs to be warmed up, or if maybe the light is like just, I don't know, maybe the cold has burnt it out. There's a chance of that as well. Yeah, it's really cold out here today. But I really did not want to cancel 2 streams in a row. So I apologize that I am so backlit today. Usually I have it's a little less obvious. I mean, I'm always backlit, but it's a little less when I have the overhead light there. But today, most of my light is coming through the windows in the garage door. Okay. Alright, so the tongs are nice and are a lot, they're more what I would consider a room temperature. They're definitely not this room's temperature. Alright, so we are going to be tapering the handle on this butter knife. Probably going to take far more heats than I really wanted to, because the top of this anvil is so cold. Well, welcome in, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Let's see if I can. Water is colder, is warmer than the air around it. Although it wasn't refrigerated water, it was just like from the filter on the tap. So it's kind of not the coldest water, but it's water. It quenches my throat. So yeah. Let's see. That's a nail. Nope, it's not a nail. It is a tiny, like Allen key. I don't know where this came from. Maybe I kicked it from the other side of the shop. So I apologize for being a little less, upbeat and happy. I'm just like, my brain is working a little bit on the slow side today. Even before I came out, I was like having a lot of trouble, like just focusing. we are actually starting to get a true taper into there. I'm actually pretty happy with that. We should be doing, with the breaking of the material like that, I don't know why, but for me, it always seems like once I start getting a little bit of movement, a lot more movement comes a lot quicker. And that's kind of more like anecdotal than it is like actual like evidence. But yeah, we should be doing pretty well with that. In the next few heats, we should be getting more movement. So what I'm trying to do right now is create the handle on the water knife. We will actually be doing a little bit of tapering on the entire length of the 4-inch piece of stock. And the reason for that is we don't want our butter knife to grow horizontally very much as we push it down and kind of thin it out for that spreading surface. So if we start with a nice taper, we will reduce the amount of width that we're getting if we increase the length. So that is what we are doing with that. So as we continue, we're just going to start tapering the whole piece, just so that we can get it nice and skinny. We want the handle to be about the same width as the rest of our silverware. The handle is going to be a little bit shorter though, because we want a little bit longer of a blade. So yeah. Welcome in, Mahalo. Welcome in. Yeah, it's all nice and sunny out, but it's so cold. It's cold as well as sunny. I always find it's not, or like, I don't think it's fair. When it's sunny, I think it should be nice and warm, or at least tepid. But I think that it's not fair that it's like really, really sunny and still bitter cold. I feel like there's something wrong with that. I kind of feel like the weather is cheating. You and me both, yes. So, like I said, the weather forecast for next week is mid-50s. So hopefully it won't wig out my immune system and make me really ill, because we're going from well below freezing to t-shirt weather. So hopefully it won't wig me out and I won't get sick. And then we'll just be able to hang out and board, and we'll probably end up in a t-shirt at the end, or by the end, because it's really nice and warm. And I'm really looking forward to that. My favorite time to forage is actually the spring and the fall, because when you get between the 50s and the 60s, that's when it gets really, really nice. You end up with around the 80s in the drop. And if you start in the 80s with the air outside, you put the forge on, it gets really, really hot here. It ends up being closer to 100, 120, and that's never fun. It is not my favorite, sweating through my clothes. So, yeah. We've got an ad going right now, and so once that ad is done, I should flip my clips. Let's do that real fast so that now that we're gonna flip our clips. And that is exciting, guys. We have made it through the first half an hour of the stream without freezing to death. Exciting! I'm very excited about that. So I think that the cold didn't just burn it out. So yeah. If so, we'll have to replace them. And we'll definitely pay attention on, or over the weekend to see if we can get a little bit, or, you know, if we can get the light back up and running. Yeah, the cold does make everything a little bit harder. It was difficult getting the stream set up today because the computer that I run the stream on was like being really slow, and I think that is also has everything to do with the cold. It is cold enough that a lot of like camera batteries and things like that, there is a temperature where it's like the batteries will fail, right? So if you have like a camera battery or like a drone battery, those are very similar. But if you're using those, they're all like lithium batteries. Especially in a drone, they tell you to be very careful when you get to below a certain temperature, because the batteries will spontaneously just drain like that, and then your drone will fall out of the sky. And drones don't like glide like airplanes would. Drones just drop right out of the sky. Even dumb things you wouldn't expect, like lights. Yes, exactly. I don't know why it's being so stupid. Like several weeks ago when I was trying to get the welder running and it was really cold, it wouldn't work. And then a couple hours later, after the forge had warmed up the room, it started right up. So yeah. Hopefully the forge will continue warming us up. credits that I've been working on. relatively cold here. But yeah, we are forging through the cold. It's starting to warm up a little bit in here, so I'm not like shivering in my boots anymore. But we're having a little bit of an issue with maintaining the heat on the steel today, so our heats are a little bit on the quick side. All right.
Or you could make one with a butterfly and it's just like a maker
there is, or like so much of knife making actually is just sitting on like a belt grinder or a wet sander or a file, and I just don't have that kind of patience. I can't make myself do it. So I just like the short-term stuff. When I was in when I worked at the jewelry store, it was amazing because like I could resize rings or solder them together or whatever, and I would leave it at a just higher grit than, or like I would use like these really high grit sandpapers, but I wouldn't ever have to polish them. So all of that finishing polishing work was done by our apprentices. So I never had to do all of that stuff. It was really, really nice. But in my shop, I have to do all of the finishing work. So I have a tendency to do things that are less finishing intensive. One grit and ship. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what or what I would do. Well, I didn't ship them at that point. Like I said, the apprentices did a lot of the more the finishing work. They would do the polishing of so everything was nice and shiny and beautiful, and then they would also do like a rhodium plate on any of the white golds, and then we would ship them. But I never had to do any of that. All right, so let's do another heat. So we're starting a really good taper here. I'm pretty happy with that. So I want it to be a little bit thinner, and then from there we're going to turn the piece around, and we're going to start working on this section right here. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to kind of bring the spoon back over here, and we're going to kind of try and compare the width of these pieces, right? So we've got the spoon right here, and we've got our new knife that we're working on right here. So it looks like we've got a little ways to go to get a similar width of handle. So we're going to keep on keeping on with that. And once we're a little bit thinner, we're going to turn it around and start working on the blade. Totally and completely agree. Like, that's also one of the reasons why I really hate doing woodworking. Like, when I'm doing, like, furniture with tabletops, the worst part of it is getting the fine grit sanding done on the tabletops. I absolutely hate that. So I have a tendency to leave them at 150 grit, which is really, really bad, and I should not do that. To have an acquaintance that was a smith. All he made were clamps for a woodworker's bench. Hold fast are lovely. Yeah. That is, like, I mean, a blacksmith, when you're trying to make money as a blacksmith, you're definitely going to start making the things that make you the money. And if there are a lot of woodworkers around that need a lot of clamps, I mean, that's a good gig, or it could be a good gig. So yeah, there's a lot of demand for certain objects. Like around here, you could make a killing just making nails. It's something that I should probably, get working on. But I don't have a nail header, so I need to make one of those. And we will eventually make a nail header so we can do some nails. Those are pretty simple. project, but they can make a decent amount of money because it's like you can make a nail in a minute. And so if you're working 8 hours and just making nails, that is a lot of nails. Make a nail in one heat. Yeah. A nail in one heat. That is the goal. It's always the goal, is to make a nail in one heat. But part of how you do that is you start with a really thin piece of material. So if your material is almost to the point where you want the nail to be, as far as diameter, then you can really make a lot of them very, very quickly. So yeah. Do you know who Hansa is, Ray, on Twitch? I believe I do. I believe that's are they like Korea Nature? I know Korea Nature does, they're like a German or a blacksmith, and they do a lot of nails. Like their channel points are nails. Yeah, check. Yep, he loves nails. But no, I haven't actually seen Hansa on Twitch. I will look them up. Do you know when they stream, like when their time slot is? I would definitely be interested in checking them out. I'm always good with checking out blacksmiths. There aren't very many like that I've actually seen a live stream of. Anyway, I've seen a couple of them on Twitch, just never live. Well, around this time, I guess, maybe a little earlier. So yeah, I have seen them, Korea Nature, and they do the blacksmithing, and I do see them do the nails. Used to be mornings. I've been out of Twitch for a year. Okay, that makes sense. I know a lot of people, they do Twitch for a little while and then they stop because they don't need to do it anymore. So I will keep an eye out. I try to keep an eye out on the makers and crafting category. So I look through them every morning, and then again in like the later afternoon, trying to see who all is around, and like because I'm also interested in like viewer counts. I'm interested to see like what's possible with the category. I know it's one of the smaller categories, and there just aren't as many people who view the category. But I'm interested to see, you know, what the upper limits are. Starting to get pretty close. I think for our next heat though, I need to go back over to the horn of the anvil. In like my cold, less than, you know, cognitive state, I've kind of forgotten that I can get a lot more movement if I use the horn. My old faithful default that I learned when I was initially blacksmithing was the face of the anvil. So I've got to remember. In 3 days he will stream from 7 to, or for me would be, because I am U.S. Central Standard Time, so that is a pretty decent size shift. I think, yeah. It is now 2100 hours. Okay. Right now it is, what would it be? 1600 hours for me. So if 21, that's 5-hour difference. So a stream from 7 to 19 would be 2 in the morning till about 2 in the afternoon, maybe? Somewhere in there. I don't think I can make 2 in the morning. That's pretty early. I usually don't get out of bed until about 6:30, 7 o'clock sometimes, depending on how sleepy I am. Come on. Yeah, I don't know. I am a lot less global than I probably should be, I feel like. And I think a lot of Americans really are. We're very self-absorbed in our own country and community. Much too much. So I will have to attempt to make time to be more global, even if I'm just watching people's VODs. Hey, Drunken Dwarf. How are you? Welcome in. It is relatively cold today, so I'm a little bit less hop to it and active, because while it's getting a little bit warmer in the shop itself, it's still kind of on the cooler side. I'm good, thanks. How have you been? I've been pretty well. It's been really cold the last couple days. I ended up having to cancel Wednesday's stream because it was so cold. It's not too much warmer today than then, but I didn't want to cancel 2 streams in a row. That just seemed really bad. I want to continue with the consistency, because I kind of feel like that's how you build a community. It's going to be really hard for for you guys to plan and get here. If I'm like streaming at all different, some days I'm here and some days I'm not. So I don't like the idea of missing 2 streams in a row. So we are going to bite our lip and keep on keeping on anyway. I saw you breathing steam on Insta. Yes. Yeah, it was definitely that cold. I mean, it's still that cold in here. If I were to, breathe closer to the cameras, you'd definitely be able to see the steam. There is a little warm bubble, or I guess it's not too warm. I'm still kind of like cold, but like there is a small warmer bubble in this area, so. Jump around, yes. Ugh. So yeah, it's getting a little bit warmer, and that makes me happy because yeah, I'm a small person, and yeah. Don't leave that bubble. Yes, definitely. I do have to leave the bubble, the warm bubble, because I have to flip my clips so that I can make sure that I get all of my stream with both angles. But then I'll stand near the forge. Then I'll warm up again. 5'5". So yeah, I'm a little bit bigger than that. Just don't bonk fingers. Cold fingers bonk is the worst, exactly. I used to be a giant at 5'2", but gravity sucks. Yeah, I imagine that. Yeah, gravity does suck, and there isn't. I am very aware of the shrinkage of my grandma used to be like several inches taller than she was when she passed away, and it's kind of strange. It's one of those like you grow to a certain height, and it's kind of like you don't really you don't really think about it, but the gravity from Earth, it kind of does shrink you over time. So yeah, I'm about 5'5" right now, but I'm probably slouching, so I probably am technically a little bit shorter right now. 6'2", Pig, you are tall. The males in my family, my biological family, they are incredibly tall. My father is 6'4". My uncle is like 6'6", and his son is 6'8", and they have giant feet. So yeah, it's ridiculous. So yeah, very, very tall men in my family. But hey, we are lucky that the Earth sucks down so we don't fly off. I am internally grateful for gravity. It's something that I definitely take for granted at times, but I'm definitely glad that I don't fly off into space as the Earth turns. I suppose if losing a little height is the consequence for that, I guess I'm okay with that. Ooh, my toes are a little bit cold. On Monday, I had one of the people viewing, or like one of the viewers was a friend that I had when I worked at a box store, and they told me that I should get a fan that blows up. So I put the fan on the floor, and it'll blow upward, and then all of the cold air, because hot air rises. So if you put a fan on the floor, it will suck up all of the cold air and bring it back up to the ceiling, and that will push the warm air down. So then maybe my toes won't be as cold. And I was like, that is a great idea. So that is something I would like to look into at some point in the future. Maybe not for the summer, because I would like to keep the really hot, warm air in the ceiling in the summertime. But in the wintertime, it's ridiculously cold, and I'm wearing steel-toe boots. It would be nice to have some of that warm air blanketing my toes. I used to have a friend, he tops out at 7'2". He is not the tallest of the town, though, but hey, I live in Flanders, Belgium. They are one of the tallest people on Earth. Wow, 7'2" isn't the tallest in town? That is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that many tall people, or a person that is that tall. That's crazy. Alright, so I said that we were going to hammer on the horn of the anvil because I forgot it was an option for other things besides curling the piece. Because, some days your brain works a little bit better than other days, Alright, and I really like the amount of movement that we're getting there. That's a good amount. And I'm pretty happy with that, actually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this around, and we're going to stick stick the wide end in the forge and start tapering that out so that just enough that we aren't going to get too wide of a butter knife blade. So I'm going to switch my tongs. Ooh, and these tongs are really, really cold. So I guess I'll have to warm them up now. And I'll put these in the forge. Just put those like that. He wears a shoe size 17. Wow. Yeah, a shoe size 17, man. Dude, I don't even think you can buy shoes off the shelf that big. I kind of feel like in the United States, at least, if you're that big, you have to like order them, special ordered, because normal shoe stores just don't carry that big of shoes. That is incredible. That's kind of how I imagine elves being. Like, I guess there are several different types of elves throughout fantasy lore, but there are the elves in the one that I'm most familiar with, which would be Elder Scrolls Online, or like the Elder Scrolls universe. Elves are incredibly tall, so they end up around or in the 7 to 8 feet range. That's kind of how I imagine it would be. Yeah. You can. There is one store in Belgium that specializes in outlying sizes. Oh, I bet. Like, if you have that, like a lot of people that are that tall with that big of feet in your country, I imagine that it wouldn't be quite as out there to have to, so you wouldn't have to order the shoes. But yeah, there's in the United States, shoes, like men's shoes only go up to about size 15. So yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. But I think I also am I think the European sizes for shoe sizes are probably different. If I'm not mistaken, they're different. But I'm not sure what the difference is, whether they're smaller or bigger, as far as shoe sizes. I know that clothing sizes, I think the European sizes are a little bit smaller than the United States sizes, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, those are warmed up a little bit. I don't want them to get too warm. Also half sizes at US 11s, yeah. Actually, that is the American. Oh, wow, that is the American size. And of course, the Netherlands are quite close. The Netherlands people are the tallest on Earth. He wears a size 57. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, if I remember correctly, I was looking at a pair of boots from a European online store, and they were in the the large 2 digits even for women's sizes, which would be mine. Now that I think about it, but yeah, 17 in U.S. sizes is huge. Yeah, it's you'd have to order them special. I know a couple people who they communicate with basketball players, and basketball players will give away their old shoes to people who have ginormous feet. We do not use inches. Yeah. That would make sense, because we are pretty much the only nation in the world that uses or still uses imperial standard, inches and feet and stuff. Okay, well, here in a few we're going to have to change our propane tanks, and because it's so ridiculously cold, they froze really, really fast. Or this one froze really fast. I think we'll get 1 to 2 heats left out of this guy, and then I'll have to change it. It shouldn't be too big of a deal though. Yeah. We use proper measurements. Oh. Myanmar does as well? Okay. Yeah. I think I remember something about that. So like when I'm actually like doing things in the shop, I try to do them in centimeters when I can. So like if I am drilling a hole with a drill bit, I'll buy the metric sizes. I will also tend to buy the metric sizes for bolts and nuts as well, because I feel like it's a lot easier to deal with. I really, really wish that when put up to a vote in like I think it was the 60s or the 80s maybe, I really wish that it would have passed and we would have changed from using imperial standard to metric, because it's so much easier to deal with. So much easier. You know how an inch is defined, right? In centimeters. Yeah, it really is. Now, they say that like the original measurements were actually measured, or like they weren't like a standard size. They would change every time your king changed, because an inch was the distance between the thumb, or like the first knuckle on the thumb and the tip of the thumb on the king, and like a foot was literally the size of the king's foot. So like every time a new king in England was made, was coronated, crowned, is that the word? They would have to change all the measurements. So it's kind of like, you know, having the metric system where a centimeter is always a centimeter, and you know, 100 centimeters is in a meter. It's just so much easier. I wish we just use it. I wish we just change. Coronated, yeah. Okay. Alright, so we are going to kind of start this taper again on the other end. And what we're going to kind of try and do for this time is we're actually going to kind of hammer specifically on the one side. That way we kind of push up in a round knife-like, a rounded knife-like shape is what I'm trying to say. We're trying to kind of keep that the shape of the knife blade in mind as we are doing this taper. So we're going to focus a lot more on hammering here we're only going to hammer from this one side instead of doing all four sides like we would normally do. We will be hammering on the horizontal, but less on the vertical, only on this one side. So 3 sides out of the 4. I hope that made sense. Maybe it didn't. I'll try to explain it a little bit better next heat. Alright. Hey, at least you do not use barley corns, do you? Yeah, I'm glad that we don't use, well, I mean, here in the US, we also have this weird meme kind of thing where it's like, we will use any measurement aside from like a mile, right? So when we're talking about, you know, the size of like an asteroid, people will be like, it's so many football fields long, or it's so many, I don't know, blue whales or, you know, whatever. So we have this weird thing where we will measure anything with anything else aside from an actual numerical measurement. So yes, it's like, how many football fields would it take to, you know, cross the distance between the Earth and the Moon? And it's like some ridiculous number, but they're going to use football fields as opposed to like miles or kilometers. And I'm just like, why? We have these units of measurement. Why aren't we using them? I think it's because nobody likes using imperial standard measurement. So, you know, when you have to deal with miles, and they're like some stupid number of feet, it just doesn't make any sense. It's a lot easier to measure things in football fields. Oh, how many inches in a mile? Any European can tell you how many centimeters is in a kilometer. I know. It's stupid. Why do we do this? Because old people. Because old people do not want to change the way they've done things for as long as they can remember, even if the new thing is easier. So yes, the old people in the United States refuse to change to metric. So yeah. We tried when I was a kid in the early 90s. They tried again to change from English Standard to metric, and it got voted down again. So I tried. So I lied, well, I didn't actually lie. We are going to hammer this direction. That way we can kind of straighten out this back line here. So yeah, we've kind of straightened that out a little bit further. We're going to do several more heats to continue doing that. Goodness. Okay, so right now what we're doing is let me start over. That way you guys can understand me for once in my life. Okay, so what we are doing is we are tapering down this blade while keeping the shape of the butter knife that we want to create in mind, right? So right now we have too much width. If we were to continue with this amount of material and just straight hammer down to create the shape of the knife, we would actually get a really, really wide knife, right? And we want to keep our knife relatively, you know, on target. We want to gain probably two widths, so an inch wide of this blade, because this is a 1/2 inch piece of steel, and I know inches. So what we're trying to do is we're kind of trying to lose this width by gaining length, if that makes sense. Didn't NASA crash a multi-million-dollar satellite in a planet because they could not count correctly? A multi-million-dollar satellite. Well, I'm not gonna lie. We are constantly crashing satellites, especially SpaceX. Most of our space travel right now is done through SpaceX, and they do a lot of satellite launches. And right now, a lot of the, Starlink satellites, they're starting to crash together and crash into the planet. So yeah, they have definitely blown up spacecraft because of miscalculating the difference between our different measuring sources. But yeah, there's constantly satellites crashing. So I'm not entirely sure a specific one, if that makes sense. So we are going to change our propane tank. We're going to try and do this as quickly as we possibly can because it is cold as all get out. Got to make sure that we close that tank. We want to make sure that we keep that forge giving us heat. Alright, there we go. Did I turn this? There, now it's off. Okay. That one, it's this one. Alright, that should be nice and tight. Let's make sure that we don't have any leaks, and we will restart. Alright, ooh, that was really nice. That started really fast. There we go. There we go. They sent one to Mars orbit and just crashed there. Yeah, I totally, like, I think I heard something about that when I was hopefully we got, you know, a lot more movement or a lot more work in on Monday when it's nice and warm and in the 50s. So hopefully that'll help us a lot. The porch is nice and bright, and I'm very happy that I changed the tank. because it takes a while to heat up the metal and make sure that everything is right so that we can do a metal pour. Or, you know, sometime maybe I will take a few days and we'll do some goldsmithing or some silversmithing. We were just talking, my partner and I were talking about putting a jeweler's bench in the house so that when next time it gets like really, really cold and I can't come out here, then maybe I can have the stream indoors at a jewelry bench and we can do like some goldsmithing or things like that. So I'm looking forward to doing things like that. That way I don't have to miss streams. And yeah, I'm just excited for what we're creating as a community. So I'm so glad you guys are here. John is not a smith. Well, John isn't a smith, but he works with metal like all the time, and I think that John can, you know, be an honorary smith. Maybe someday in the next, or like, I don't think it'll be like relatively soon per se, but maybe in a year or so, if we're both still streaming, maybe we can do a collab, and I could definitely see making some Damascus steel and sending it over to John, and then maybe he can make a knife out of it. I mean, I don't see that in the near future. I think that a Yankees Axe collab would be a much quicker, or like a much more reasonable collab at the moment, because I think making an axe head would be, you know, a little easier than making a full set of Damascus steel, or like a brick of Damascus steel. But I think that could be an amazing collab. He does not like Damascus because Damascus rusts. Damascus does rust. You have to be really, really careful with it. It is made from, or most of the time, the most typical two alloys for Damascus steel is 15 in 20 and 1095. So the 1095 is a high carbon steel, and the 15N20 is a high nickel steel. So they are both very rusty steels, so you have to oil them up and be very, very careful. They take a lot of maintenance. I mean, you know, there's always a chance that, you know, if I send enough money along with the billet, that maybe Johnson would, you know, do the grinding for me so I don't have to. You know, hopefully. It's possible, maybe. Alright, we are going to do another heat real fast, and then we can continue talking. Spine to be nice and forge welding a little bit. So this summer, I want to get out the coal forge, and the coal forge gets a lot hotter than the gas forge. And then once I get that heat, the good heat in there, we can kind of make a tool steel bit or an axe head, and that'd be really good practice for me. So it would be really nice. I'd love that. Odin Butta, thank you so much for that follow, and Pink, thank you for pointing that out. I very much appreciate all of the follows and the community that we are building here today and every day that we stream. And I am definitely available every day. You can get a hold of me as a private message here on Twitch, or you can hang out in my Discord or on my YouTube. And I'm always available to answer questions and to talk to you about, blacksmithing related things, or sometimes not blacksmithing related things. So yeah, welcome to the community. Alrighty. So for this heat, we are going to focus on picking a piece of steel out of the forge, but kind of straightening out that back end, the back edge of this piece. It looks like it's straightened out pretty well, but now it looks like we've kind of lost that taper up towards the nose of this knife, so we're going to have to go back and work that. So we can kind of do that by using glancing blows on the edge of the anvil. And we use the edge of the anvil so that we don't accidentally hit the anvil and prevent ourselves from completing the stroke. So we've put that like curl back in there. So I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to continue tapering this, or like making this thinner, and then eventually we're going to start widening out the blade of this butter knife. And once again, we're doing a butter knife because Ray doesn't like spending her entire year grinding. Collab with Alex Steele. It would be a lot of fun to collab with Alex Steele, but I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet. I know that. Oh, my partner is home. That's what that noise was. The vehicle door. So yeah, what time is it? Oh wow, I have lost track of time completely. We are at the 2-hour mark, so I will probably go for another half hour or so, maybe a little longer. We'll go for 2.5 hours on this stream, but yeah. At least you knew who I was talking about. Yeah. So back when I first started learning how to blacksmith, I did a lot of research on YouTube. I watched a lot of videos on it, and Alex Steele was like just getting started around that time, and so I kind of feel like at the same time that he was growing his channel was when I was really honing in on like trying to learn how to blacksmith. So a lot of his videos, and then also a lot of Dirty Smith videos were what kind of taught me how to do some of the basic blacksmith techniques, and then I would take those back to the Memphis Metals Museum twice a year, and then I had like about a week I did not hear the house door open. I'm sure it did though, because my partner's not in the carport. So, alright. Let's do another game. Okay, so now we're going to kind of flatten this out a little bit. And because we're starting to cool that metal down, it's starting to jump a little bit. So we'll need to heat that back up. But we're starting to really get that nice shape. So I think I'm really going to start focusing on thinning that out, increasing the width of this blade. That way we'll have plenty of surface area to drag that butter across the bread. I like lots and lots of butter on my toast. So I want the blade of this butter knife to be really nice and wide. Not too wide, but wide enough to get lots of butter on my toast. Hello, welcome in, Blacksmith Dan. Yeah. Welcome in. We are working on a butter knife, if you haven't caught that already. I tried. The title is supposed to explain that, you know, we're not doing sharks today. Not very good at at grinding straight lines. I have a tendency to grind curves. So usually my grinding is a little bit iffy. So I tend to do as less or the least amount of grinding I can get away with. So I try to do very precise welding even. Just so that I don't have to grind it back. Ooh, do I have a peanut butter jar to test for length? I do. It's in my house. But yeah, I do have a peanut butter jar. Well, I also have like a pickle jar. Does a pickle jar work? I mean, this is kind of, it looks like a pickle jar to me. So there's like a whole bunch of glass jars that the previous owner of this shop left me. So yeah, this one, I think it looks like a pickle jar to me. But yeah, I do have peanut butter in my house. Peanut butter and jelly. Are you referring to the actual offset butter knife with the clipped point, or do you mean a table knife? I am actually referring mostly to a table knife. So like, the reference that I'm going for is one of these guys, right? So we've got ourselves a fork, a knife, and a spoon. So these are the references, sort of, that I'm kind of using. So we're trying to get a blade that is shaped like this guy. So it's kind of got a little bit of a round section here. It's got a little bit of a clip here, but not like what is actually properly considered a butter knife in etiquette, or like in an etiquette sort of way, if that makes sense. I don't see why not. Depends on how deep the jars are. explanation of the why I might want to spell New York. It is a song and something out of the 60s. Oh, okay. I am really bad with my music from the 60s. I have a relatively broad music taste as far as like the 70s and the 80s. The 60s, I'm really, that's far enough back that before I was born that I'm just not as familiar with it. So, I mean, as far as the 60s, I mean, I think I got like the Beatles, like very early Beatles, but other than that, I really don't know much. I know a little bit of Elvis, but I mean, I feel like that's definitely not where you would be going with that. The song is 80s, I think. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm not as familiar with the 80s music as I thought. But yeah, I don't know, like when you said, am I gonna spell New York, the first thing that I thought of was there's this like weird meme video where I don't know if you guys are familiar with the cartoon Adventure Time. That might be a little bit too new. Because I mean, it didn't come out until I was out of college before that one came out. But there's this bacon pancakes thing. So it's like this weird like stretchy dog, and he sings about making bacon pancakes. And then someone combined it with this other song, "In New York" by Alicia Keys. And so yeah, it's making bacon pancakes in New York. So that was the first thing that I thought of. So. But yeah, that's probably not where you were going with that. Alright, let's do another heat. I need to check the thing real fast. And I knew that was... I forgot to refresh my clips on the last commercial break, so I'm going to do that real fast right now. Alrighty. So I've missed about 20 minutes on my close-up camera for my recording. Alright. Alright, we're starting to actually push the curve a little bit too far from that spine. So I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to hammer back on this spine to kind of push all of that forward just a little bit. It looks like it's starting to clip up a little bit. And we've definitely got a little bit of a twist going on there. So I want to correct that as well. Cocaine in the brain, a Dillinger, a knife, a fork, a bottle, and a cork. That's why we spell New York. Man, you see, no matter where I treat my guests, they always like my kitchen best. You know what? I think I have heard that song. Maybe once or twice. Not very frequently, though. My dad was he was in a band in like the 70s and the 80s, and I think he mentioned that he had played that song while he was in the band, but he did not play the same genre as he did when he was younger, when I was a kid. Yeah. I feel like I have heard that song, I going to finish, or like completely finish this butter knife today. But I think part of it is because it was so cold in the beginning, we lost a lot of movement to the cold. So we will definitely start, or we'll continue working on this knife, the spoon. I want to fix that a little bit further, and we'll also work a little bit on that fork. We're going to kind of try and finesse them and decorate the handles a little bit further. And then we'll have our set. Hopefully we'll have that finished on Monday. If not, we will finish it on Wednesday for sure, for sure. We lost a lot of heat to the ground. Yep. I don't remember if you have a belt grinder. I technically do have a belt grinder, right? But my belt grinder, it's kind of a weird sort of tool, right? So I found this link. This guy had this like belt grinder that actually was attached to a bench, or like a bench grinder, right? So it's an attachment. So you need a 3/4 horsepower bench grinder, and then you can attach it instead of one of the stone wheels. And so originally when I bought it, I had a 3/4 horsepower Harbor Freight Special bench grinder. And eventually, as all Harbor Freight tools do, it broke, and I bought a much better one. I bought a DeWalt one, right? So when I attached the belt grinder to the DeWalt bench grinder, then it kind of stopped, or it won't, or like when I put the belt on it, it won't turn. I don't think it, I think it doesn't like the amount of torque that it requires. So it's something that I feel like I need to fiddle with, because the tension is variable, and it's really, really tense on the new grinder. So I feel like if I play with it a little bit further, I can make it work, but it's not currently working. 2 horsepower power motor needed. I mean, maybe. It's been like 10 years since I bought it, so I don't remember. I know that it is the big DeWalt bench grinder, and it is rated in like to be big enough for that belt grinder, but I don't, because it's the same like caliber of bench grinder as my previous one. So I remember that I matched them when I bought it, but that was like forever ago, so I don't remember for sure. Only 2. So I'm not sure. But yeah, belt grinders don't actually go much higher than a couple horsepower, or like, yeah, bench grinders. I thought it was 3/4, but I could be completely wrong. Like I said, you know, I try to remember, but it's like been years. Looked it up to the PTO of a tractor. Oh, to the photo? Hook it up to a tractor. I could do that. Except I don't have a tractor. I mean, could I do it to a lawn tractor? I mean, I have a riding lawnmower, but I don't have an actual tractor. My grandfather used to have a tractor, but I think we sold that off when we sold the farm. Torque that way. Yeah, it would definitely be gobs of torque on a tractor. So yeah, we are in the middle of an ad, so I am going to wait until that ad is completed. That way we can make sure that everybody gets to see the next heat. Even the people who do not have turbo. Then after that, we'll do another heat and we'll see what happens. It is starting to look like, or sound like, my propane is starting to freeze up a little bit. And my previous propane is not thawed yet. So if I lose my propane, we might end up having to end the stream a little bit early. I do know that we probably are not going to finish our knife in time, or by the end of this stream anyway, so I don't think it's that bad. So yeah. I mean, I have a steam-powered tractor I can hook it up to, but that is overkill. That would be overkill. A steam-powered tractor on a belt grinder. Yeah. Yeah, or a belt sander. Yeah. That would be overkill. Okay, and we are back from our commercial break. So, like I said during the break, for those of you who are unable to watch during the break, I'm starting to hear the propane tank, or like the burner, slow down a bit. So once it starts puttering, we're going to have to turn it off, and we'll end the stream at that point. And then we will be back on Monday streaming to finish out the knife, and then also finesse the fork and the spoon. So we are going to do another heat. The sander definitely would not stop if it was attached to a tractor. Okay, so we are going to hammer on this spine to kind of try and true it up a little bit. So we're not hammering like heavily. At the same time, we're kind of trying to fix that shape. So we're starting to get a good butter knife shape in there. But it kind of reminds me of an actual butter knife at this point. So I think it's about time where we're going to start focusing on widening out that blade. I really want to increase the width here, so it's going to kind of come out a little bit further. And in order to do that, we're going to kind of focus on this, or hammering on this edge over here instead of the full blade. We do have some meat we can take out of that spine, but we're going to focus on pulling it downward in this direction here. Once it starts throwing clay, what does throwing clay have to do with propane? Sputter. Yeah, it's just it's sputtering. So when you start losing the pressure on the propane, it'll start, the gas will start slowing down, and it will start going out and reigniting. So it'll start puffing, if that makes sense. So they're like tiny explosions, right? And you can't get any heat through it. So even though, and it can be dangerous as well. Like if you don't have a backflow regulator, what could happen is when it starts going out and reigniting over and over, it can ignite inside of the burner, and it will burn through the hose and into the tank. And it could explode, or the tank could explode. The best way to prevent that from happening is having a backflow regulator. So yeah, and you can get those at your local welding supply store. Oh, sarcastic. I'm sorry, guys. Tone is not, or I'm not amazingly good at like implying tone in people's like posts. I'm sorry. I will try and get better at it. But yeah, so we're starting to lose a little bit of heat on the propane tank, and so we'll probably only get a couple more heats in. So if you guys have anybody that you're interested in raiding off to, start thinking about that and posting who you'd like to go to. I'm not sure who all is online right now. A lot of times Johnson is streaming at this time spot or slot. Spell things right, it would. Okay, so it looks like right now that, oh, and now it disappeared on me. It looks like Lone Mountain Knife is just chatting, and Glen Echo Glass is also working today. So those are two people who that we could raid. So yeah, Lone Mountain Knife is on. We could raid him if you'd like to. But I want to get a couple more heats in before we do that. We can definitely do one now, and then we'll probably do maybe one more. We'll kind of see where we are after this heat. Pulling blow to kind of increase that width a little bit further. Like I said, we've got a lot of meat on that spine that we can kind of move over here. You can definitely see where it's thicker on this side and thinner on this. So we'll kind of try and bring all of that meat over to the blade end of the piece as we continue working. One more heat, so we will be doing one more heat for this piece, and then after that we will be raiding off to, I think we're going to do Lone Mountain Knife. I think he's in the category of just chatting, so I'm not sure if he's in the shop or not. Sometimes he plays games, and sometimes he is just in the shop talking, so we'll see, but I like him. But yeah, we're really starting to lose a lot of heat, and so because it is so cold, I haven't been able to unthaw my other tank yet. So on Monday, we shouldn't have that problem. Like I said, the forecast is in the 50s, so it should be absolutely gorgeous out, and I won't have to freeze my little toesies off all next week. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that spring, comes and it continues to be warmer from next week on, and we don't have any cold snaps. that would make me a very, very happy camper. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Thank you to Odin Buddha for the follow. And I really appreciate all of your love and support. Thank you very much. And we're going to do that last heat. It's a little bit on the cold side, but we're not going to get too much more heat out of the forge while it is in this state. So, let's go. So for Monday's stream, we are going to continue drawing out on this side the handle. There's a little bit of meat right here that I definitely want to take care of. So we've got really thick, a thick area right there. We're going to continue pulling that material from the blade down further to create a much wider blade so we can get more butter on our knife. And then we're also going to focus a little bit on the spoon and the fork and kind of finessing those a little bit. The fork's handle is a little bit on the thick side, and I was able to kind of look at that while we were, or between streams. So I want to take care of that. And then we will clean them up and we'll be done with the silverware project. So I'm pretty happy. Pretty excited. So, I am going to rate us off to Lone Mountain Knife, and thank you so much for joining me today. Have an amazing weekend, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining me. Alrighty. Looks like Lone Mountain is making stream assets. So emotes and stuff. So have fun, and I will see you guys next week on Monday.